just a hack. He's just an absolute hack. And he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
News broke today in what was one of the most heated quarterback battles in college football. Myles Brennan, previous starter at LSU, announced that he is going to remove himself from the quarterback competition that he's having with Jayden Daniels and officially stepping away from football. The sixth-year man at LSU previously took over after Joe Burrow finished up his career, but according to Christian Garrick, his time is done with the Tigers. So instead of entering the portal, we've got Brennan making that decision that he's just straight up stepping away from football. First, that decision makes sense. Brennan's been around for a while. He doesn't really have a lot of pro prospects for an opportunity to play at the next level. His name hasn't even really been brought up in the 2023 quarterback class. A guy that if he even did get a shot would, one, need to win this starting job or go play elsewhere, would have likely have been an undrafted free agent type of a player. But to me, this is the delayed inevitable that Jayden Daniels wins the starting job. Now, according to Garrick, Brennan, and this seems like it's not fully verified, this is alleged, that Brian Kelly communicated to Brennan that he wasn't going to win the starting job, that it was going to be the ASU transfer Jayden Daniels that is the likely winner. So that sounds like what is the bigger headline here. That is the bigger thing to focus on. Not so much that Brennan, who was probably going to be the backup, is stepping away and won't be a part of the team. It is instead the fact that Jayden Daniels has won this quarterback job with the season right around the corner. Now, being somebody who followed Notre Dame football and was a Notre Dame football fan for the entirety of Brian Kelly's tenure as the head coach at the University of Notre Dame, Jayden Daniels makes a lot more sense as the starting quarterback than Myles Brennan did. I remember at the beginning of Brian Kelly's time when Tommy Rees was the starting quarterback, and it was pretty clear that Tommy Rees didn't fit with what Kelly wanted for his offense and in the traits that he was looking for with a quarterback. That was why Everett Golson eventually took over. We've seen guys like Malik Zaire. DeShone Kizer was one of the few guys that didn't really fit that mold, but there have been a number of players throughout Kelly's time that he has relied on athletic guys who can throw on the run, that can throw off platform. That's what Jayden Daniels is. That is what has made Jayden Daniels a perceived sleeper quarterback prospect since he started very early on at Arizona State, is that athleticism. Now, he hasn't fully developed at the rate that I think a lot of scouts and NFL draft media people have hoped he could have, because if he put it all together, we all know that Jayden Daniels could be really freaking good, but he hasn't yet. He is going to be taking over this LSU job. I have high expectations for Jayden Daniels. I fully expected him to win this job. Wasn't really surprised by the outcome here, surprised by what was the cause of him winning the job, but not very surprised at all that Jayden Daniels is the winner. The only facet that is partially removed from this that I feel like kept hearing being discussed throughout the preseason, throughout the offseason, is Brian Kelly's willingness to use multiple quarterbacks. And in Brian Kelly's time in Notre Dame, he has always over-relied on multiple guys. We even most recently saw it last year where he couldn't pick between Tyler Buchner and Jack Cohn fully. We got usage from both of them a ton throughout all of last season. It took until Marcus Freeman taking over to put his foot down and say, Jack Cohn's going to start and play this entire game. There has always been a lack of an ability to make a firm decision at the quarterback position. I point at the most problematic instance when DeShone Kizer should have been the starting quarterback, but he still brought Malik Zaire in on series, and that disrupted the flow of the offense. That disrupted the ability for guys to get into a rhythm. Very, very rarely does the multiple quarterback system work. I think that now that Brennan is gone and that you remove that issue of Brian Kelly having to make this non-decision, if you will, is going to help this LSU offense. Jayden Daniels is not as consistent of a passer, I think, as Myles Brennan could be. He's a little bit more erratic. He's a little bit more that gambler, again, throw on the run, throw off platform type of a guy. But if we allow him to get into a rhythm with a team that a lot of people believe has the best receiving core, if not one of the best receiving cores in the SEC, I think this LSU offense can perform very, very well. The expectations are very, very high for LSU. And now that we know that Jayden Daniels is taking over, it's going to be exciting to see how the Tigers do. Be sure you hit subscribe. Got more college football content now that the season's right around the corner. But make sure you're caught up by subscribing. And then leave any comments on what you think if Jayden Daniels will get the job done. Or maybe if Garrett Nussmeier might possibly win the job out of nowhere, out of an unexpected outcome.